So, when you hear the term guard dog, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably something big, powerful, maybe a little intimidating, right? But is that really the whole picture? Is it just about brute strength, or is there something deeper going on, an instinct that's been bred into these animals for centuries? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and separate the myth from the reality of what truly makes a guard dog.
You know these dogs, they were all bred for a purpose, often a really ancient one. We're talking about guarding livestock from predators, protecting huge estates from poachers, or even hunting incredibly dangerous game. So the big question is, how do those very specific, very old instincts actually translate to a modern family home? The answer? Well, it's not nearly as simple as you might think, and that's where things start to get really fascinating.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the specialists. These are dogs bred for one thing and one thing only: protection. Then we'll dive into the versatile working dogs, and those with more, let's say, primal instincts. We're even going to bust a super common myth about powerful breeds before we land on the single most critical factor for any owner. Let's jump in. Okay, let's start with the specialists. These are the breeds that were basically engineered with one job in mind: to protect. Their guardian instincts aren't just a part of who they are who they are. It's hardwired right into their DNA.
A perfect example? The Doberman Pinscher. I mean, just look at them. They were designed to be incredibly fast, always alert, and loyal to a fault. This dog was literally created to be the ultimate personal protector. But that specific design, well, it comes with a huge amount of responsibility for the owner.
So let's break this down a little. The Doberman's original job was personal protection, which means its instinct is to react, and react quickly, to any direct threat. But here's the catch, and you can see it right there in the owner's note. If you don't provide proper training and socialization, that amazing protective instinct can flip into unmanaged aggression in a heartbeat. It is a very, very fine line.
Now let's look at a totally different kind of guardian, the bull mastiff. Its old nickname, the gamekeeper's night dog, just paints the perfect picture, doesn't it? Its job was to silently patrol massive estates and stop poachers dead in their tracks.
And this is just a classic case of form-following function. The bull mastiff's whole purpose was to pin an intruder, not to maul them. They are guardians, not attackers. But let's be crystal clear. With that kind of raw strength, any hint of aggression is incredibly dangerous. For a bull mastiff owner, control isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely non-negotiable. And staying in that mastiff family, we have two more absolute powerhouses: the Cane Corso and the Presa Canario. Both were bred to be truly formidable guardians of property and livestock, and believe me, their instincts are every bit as powerful as their bodies.
So how do these two stack up? The Cane Corso is intensely protective of its property, which makes it naturally suspicious of anyone it doesn't know. The Presa Canario has that same territorial drive, but also has a strong herding instinct mixed in. And for both of these breeds, the risk is identical. Without a ton of socialization and some really expert handling, that protective nature can become a serious, serious danger.
Okay, so we're moving on from the specialist to the all-rounders, the versatile working dogs. For these breeds, protection is just one tool in a much bigger toolbox. You can think of them as the multitaskers of the canine world, bred for a whole range of complex jobs.
This comparison is just fantastic. On one hand, you have the Rottweiler. Its instinct is territorial, right? It's rooted in guarding livestock on a specific piece of land. A stranger on their property is the threat. Then you have the German Shepherd, developed for police work. Its instinct is all about threat perception, protecting its handler, its unit, no matter where they are. And here's the key. You can't train those two instincts the same way. One is about managing a physical space. The other is about managing a dog's judgment of a situation, which is a whole lot more abstract.
This next group of dogs is, well, it's just fascinating. These are dogs whose protective instincts don't come from a traditional guarding job, but from much more primal sources, like hunting, fighting, or just this ancient sense of independence. This is where we see genetics get really elemental.
Now, to really get the next couple of breeds, we need to understand two key concepts. First is tenacity. That's the raw instinct to bite down and hold on no matter what. And second is prey drive, that powerful, deep-seated impulse to chase and capture something. These instincts are not about guarding a house. They're raw and they're primal.
You see these primal drives front and center in breeds like the Pit Bull Terrier and the Dogo Argentino. The Pit Bull's history in bull baiting bred this unwavering tenacity into its very soul. The Dogo Argentino, bred for hunting big game like wild boar, has an off-the-charts prey drive and incredible courage. Those instincts are still there, and they absolutely require an experienced, confident hand to manage them in a family home.
Another one of these primal instincts is this ancient independence, which you see so clearly in the Akita and the Chow Chow. Now, both can be aloof, but in very different ways. The Akita is fiercely loyal to its family, but can be very wary of strangers and other dogs. The Chow Chow, on the other hand, is just kind of suspicious of almost everyone outside its immediate circle. For both, the owner's role is everything. An Akita needs a confident leader, while a Chow Chow needs tons of socialization from day one to learn the world isn't a threat.
Okay, this brings us to a huge misconception, one I see all the time. Does a big, powerful dog automatically equal a good guard dog? This next section might actually surprise you as we look at a group of dogs that are incredibly strong but were bred for a completely different job.
So a Siberian Husky, it looks kind of like a wolf, it's incredibly strong, has to be a great guard dog, right? I mean, on the surface, it makes perfect sense. But this is the classic mistake of confusing looks with aptitude. The truth is actually the complete opposite.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The main instincts of a husky or a malamute are all about pack mentality and prey drive, not protection. These dogs were bred to pull sleds as part of a team, cooperating with other dogs and humans. They're energetic and independent, not naturally watchful or territorial. In fact, a lot of them are famously friendly with strangers. The biggest challenge with these breeds isn't aggression, it's them tearing your house apart out of boredom. They are absolutely powerful, but that power just isn't wired for guarding.
So, we've looked at the specialists, the workers, the primal breeds. We've seen a huge range of instincts, temperaments, and potential risks. But there is one common thread that ties every single one of them together, a single factor that determines whether these powerful dogs become stable companions or, potential liabilities.
And here it is. This is the whole shebang, the 4 pillars of responsible ownership. Early and consistent socialization, to teach them the world isn't a scary place. Firm but positive training, to build a foundation of control and respect. Experienced handling, from someone who truly understands the breed's needs. And, this one's huge, proper exercise and mental stimulation. For these kinds of dogs, these aren't just suggestions. They are absolute, non-negotiable requirements for a safe and happy life.
In the end, it really all comes down to this. A dog's genetics and its history, they provide the potential. The potential for protection, for tenacity, for prey drive. That part is baked in. But it's the owner who provides the guidance. It's the owner's training, socialization, and leadership that shapes that potential into something positive. So this final question, it's probably the most important one of all. The instinct is in the dog, but the responsibility, that's entirely on us.